Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing my strawberry cookie dough recipe with you. This recipe is very similar to my original recipe, which is a no chill, no spread cookie dough. I will go over every single ingredient that we used here and how I used it. So let's get started. As I mentioned in the beginning, most of the ingredients will be the same. So here we'll have baking soda and salt. This is one of the ingredients that changes, and this is strawberry flavoring from Amaretti. This is a very important ingredient. You can also substitute it for something that you can find at the grocery store, but this is very powerful and I highly recommend it. We're also using dehydrated strawberries that we will make into powder. We are using an egg, just as the original recipe calls for. We're also using the same amount of butter, and don't forget that all of these measurements will be in the description box below. And we're also using granulated sugar. As well, we will be using all-purpose flour, and if it looks weird, but we will also be using vanilla just to offset the flavor of the strawberry. So first I'm taking my dehydrated strawberries and putting them into my food processor. You can also find these types of powders already ground. They are a little bit more expensive, so that's why I decided to go this route, and dehydrated strawberries can be easily found at your local grocery store or even online. And this is also what's going to help give the dough our flavor and the color. So we want to go ahead and pulse the strawberries until you get a fine powder. It's okay to have a little bit of big chunks like you see here, because those are also going to give texture to our dough. So the first thing we want to do is we want to cream our butter, sugar, and our egg, just as we do with the original recipe. And as we do with the original, we are going to go ahead and beat these three ingredients for approximately 2 to 3 minutes until they combine, and you're going to see that they become a little bit fluffy. Remember that this is a very important step because we will be using very minimal baking powder. So this is going to help give our cookies the texture and the softness to them. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in my flavorings. And first I'm adding in a hint of vanilla. Like I said, the measurement will be in the description box below, but this is also going to help offset or bring out the flavor of the strawberry. Now I'm putting in my strawberry compound. Like I said, I highly recommend this specific brand because it is very thick and it's very flavorful, and it's a little bit more natural than what you find like at your local craft store. And it doesn't taste as commercial as the one, like the oils that you find at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. So after you mix in your flavorings, we're going to add in our ground dehydrated strawberries. Make sure you get all of them in there. And like I said, this is going to help give the color. One thing that you will see in a little bit is that I will be adding just a little bit of drops of pink food coloring because I wanted to bring out more of the strawberry color. This will paint your dough just a tiny bit, but it wasn't enough for me. You can definitely skip out on the food coloring if you wanted to. Always make sure to mix in your ingredients thoroughly, and in between make sure to scrape the sides so that all the butter and all the sugar and ingredients are able to incorporate to one another, and at the end you have a very consistent dough. After you have scraped all of the butter and the previous ingredients that we blended, it's time to add in our all-purpose flour. I like to do this all at one time. You can also take your time and add in at least in 3 parts, but I like to just go ahead and do this and at the same time add in my baking powder and my salt. Remember that if you did use salted butter, to reduce the salt by half of the amount that I added here. And again, those amounts will be in the description box below. If you do decide to add all the all-purpose flour at one time, make sure to pulse your mixer. Otherwise, you'll have a cloud of flour all over your kitchen, or you can also use a cover while doing this. As I've explained in all the videos of my cookie dough before, this cookie dough will go through stages. So in the beginning, you're going to see that it looks a little bit sandy, a little bit rough. Give it some time. It usually takes between 5 to 7 minutes to come together. And once it comes together, you'll start to notice that the dough no longer sticks to the sides of the bowl. And when you touch it, it's not going to be sticky to the touch. I've also recommended this rolling system before. It is the Dough Easy rolling system that comes with rolling guides for thickness. If you don't have access to this rolling system, however, you can definitely use 2 pieces of parchment paper. So you would mimic this exact method that I'm using by placing a parchment paper on your work surface, and then use the 5-gallon paint stirrers from Home Depot, or you can even find them at Lowe's. You can also find them on Amazon as your rolling guides, and then place the other piece of parchment paper on top of your dough and begin to roll it in this way. You will get the exact same result. I do have a video from a few years ago where I repeat this method, so I will go ahead and link it here. Just in case you don't have access to this rolling system, you can replicate it at home with no problem. I also recommend that if you are using any type of cutter, whether it's metal or plastic, to always dip it into some powdered sugar before cutting your cookie dough. This is to prevent any of the small pieces and edges from sticking into your cutter and then breaking off before you're able to remove your shape from the working mat. And in the beginning, you also saw me dust my non-stick surface with some powdered sugar. I don't like to use flour because I feel like once you roll it again, the dough gets tougher. And I also recommend that even if you are using a non-stick surface, that you do this step, because it's going to be a lot easier for you to pick up your shapes once you are ready to transfer them over to your baking sheet. What I also recommend is to remove the excess first before you begin to take any of the shapes out. This will help to give you a better grasp when transferring your shapes. And as with the cutters, I recommend dipping your offset spatula into some powdered sugar and then lightly and very carefully sliding in the offset spatula towards all the edges and the center of your shape, picking it up, and at the same time having your baking sheet ready to go into the oven so that you're not having to struggle too much. To bake my cookies, I'm going to preheat my oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and I will bake them for between 10 to 12 minutes. You can definitely bake them at a higher temperature for less time, and definitely always check your oven to make sure that the temperature is correct so that your cookies don't burn. So this is how my cookies turned out. I basically used them to make cookies for my niece, and they were themed in baby shark. I definitely hope that you enjoyed this recipe. I hope that you give it a try. Definitely let me know if you try it out for Valentine's. Don't forget to check the description box for the measurements. Don't forget to leave me a comment, hit the like button before you go, subscribe before you go, share this video with a friend, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.